Really.
You're listening to the Cricket Podcast.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Cricket Podcast, where we will be talking about England v South Africa. It is day 2 of the first test of the series at Lords, and South Africa are pretty on top, I would say. England have done their usual. Let two lower order guys take things away. I'm Jack Hope. I'm joined by Max Rowe Brown. How you doing, Max?
Hello. Yeah, very good. Nice to have a full day of cricket today. That was pleasant.
It was.
I did enjoy the downpours yesterday. It was much needed, very overdue.
Yeah, it was. Did it help your garden? Your swimming pool? Fill up your swimming pool?
No, it's still really dry and sad and brown.
What, the swimming pool?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, it was sunny today. It was good weather today for cricket. Actually, on that note, did you see the cricket writer George DeBell's tweet? And I think this was genuine about what England should, or what Lords should do.
Tearing down Lords and building a roof.
Lords has been valued, and this is George DeBell's tweet. Lords has been valued at somewhere around £2.5 billion. Yes, billion. They could sell it and build a 50,000 capacity ground with a roof and still have the money to fill up a car with petrol. They've moved twice before. If they were really leaders, they'd move again. I think we should just start with that, Max.
Who's going to buy it? That's my first question.
I think property.
Who wants to buy property in London anymore? It's shit, isn't it?
Russians.
Yeah, well, they're all ditching it, aren't they? At the moment,
are they?
Yeah, you know what, with the economy tanking, no one wants to be associated with London anymore. Where are we going to move to? Assume, because it has to be in London, right? So if Lords is worth 2.5 billion, where are we going to buy that will leave us enough money to build the stadium?
Well, it has to be North London because you've got the Oval, haven't you, in South London?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean,
Milton Keynes, that would be cheap.
I think this is the flaw in this plan, isn't it? That you sell £2.5 billion of land, and then you need to buy. Let's be honest here. At least, even if you downsize, you say we don't need the nursery ground area. You still need a cool billion, don't you, for a Zone 2 plot of land?
I think it's Milton Keynes. I think Lords is heading to Milton Keynes.
Well, Milton Keynes. You could probably build something next to the Olympic Stadium. And
that's true. Yeah. Tear down the Olympic Stadium. West Ham don't need it.
That's true. But do the old switcheroo.
Yeah.
There you go. And everyone's happy.
You solved it. Cheers, George.
It was pretty crazy, I thought.
Let's hope it was sarcasm.
Yeah, let's hope. Max, before we get into talking about the cricket, can you give us a little, not summary of the day? That's the cricket, isn't it?
That's after.
What do our listeners need to know?
They need to know that they should like and subscribe to us on YouTube. That makes us happy. They need to head over to Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at the Cricket Pod. Is it the Cricket Pod or Cricket Pod on?
Just search the Cricket Podcast. You'll find it. Should
come up. Yeah.
We are in the videos. So if it sounds like us and it's got our logo, and it's called the Cricket Podcast, you're probably in the right place.
Yeah. And if there is a spoof,
Yeah.
What's the saying?
I don't know, Max. I don't know.
Copying is the highest form of flattery, or whatever. There's another word that's copying, and I can't remember. Anyway.
Sarcasm is the lowest form of wit.
Yeah, that's also true. But
what goes around is all around.
Yeah.
We're two birds stoned at once.
It's the idiom podcast today. So that's social media
podcast today.
That's brilliant. That's social media. We've got patreon.com/cricketpod to support us directly there. Join us in the Discord where we talk about the cricket while it's happening. It's good fun. I enjoy it. And finally, sponsorship message. The podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in below the waist men's grooming. And you can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping at manscaped.com with the code CricketPod, which is below us on our lovely overlay or in the show notes. So head over there.
Yep, do all of those things. That would be good. And if you're on YouTube, hit like. We because we haven't done a live show for ages, we didn't have that many people. We've actually started off with Not many, but more than yesterday.
More than
we're
0.
rebuilding. So hit like. It's all about interactions. Trick the algorithm. Hello, Gurjit. Hello, Prajwal. In the chat there. We will, 5 minutes into the show, finally talk about. And it was a good, it was a good day of cricket. We will finally now talk about the cricket. Max,
Yes.
in 26 seconds,
26.
and I'm going to time you. Tell us what happened.
Okay, well, we started the day with England staring down the barrel. Ollie Pope, England's last hope, with the bat out overnight on 61 and out. He was batting like no one was going to hang around with him for very long, and that was fairly sensible, given no one else hung around with him. But he was out, and England succumbed pretty meekly to 165. South Africa started very well, a strong first wicket partnership of 85, but England took regular wickets and looked like they might just about be in the game until the late fireworks from Jansen and Maharaj took pretty much the first innings and the game away from England, and South Africa very much on top.
That was
30. How long was that?
That's 36 seconds.
36.
So
It's difficult. 26 is tough.
26 is hard.
For a test match.
It wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad. It was a pretty engaging day. If you were a neutral watching at home or you were an England fan, you probably wanted to see England get a few more runs in the morning. They weren't able to do that. Let's start with the morning, and let's start with probably player of the match so far, Kagiso Rabada, up on the honours board. They kept banging on about how, it was such an... Andrew Strauss was on one about how it was amazing. Most people are, you're lucky if you ever get to play Lords once in your life, and he just kept banging on and on and on and on and on about it. I don't know, I think Rabada's played at Lords before. Might be his first time on the honours board. It was good bowling. That's the point.
Yeah, I mean, all over the South Africa attack, they were on point, weren't they? But they just picked up where they left off yesterday. They were attacking sort of the fourth stump. They got it to move. They got their lengths right. They got their lines right. Nortje was bowling too quickly for most of England's batsmen. When you look at it, and it was a really good performance from them, especially when you consider it is at Lords, and people do sometimes struggle with the Lords slope, and I doubt that attackers played at Lords that many times. Maharaj has probably been there a few times, but he wasn't needed. So for the Pacers, it was could have been tricky, but they got it spot on, didn't they? And England's batters didn't really have much of an answer. Ollie Pope being the only man to really show much in the way of resistance, and he didn't last too long this morning. So you just have to give a lot of credit to the way South Africa bowled. I assume that's what you said yesterday.
It was pretty much that. Yeah, we spoke for 20 minutes about how they were quite good and how they were all quite varied, and how they basically overpowered England in some helpful-ish conditions.
It's a really well balanced attack, isn't it? I mean, they didn't even need to use the spinner, but when you've got Rabada with reasonable pace and swing, you got Nortje with raw pace, and Jansen with the left arm option, and Ngidi, who was also there.
He was also there. I think the day actually started, and I did want to mention, I had this down as a note, with Ervir's hilarious drop.
Which of the 3 and 1 was that?
I think anything, you see a lot of catches that look regulation dropped in the slips. On a day when everyone's wearing red in the crowd, I think you can.
I haven't thought about that. That's a really good point.
I think you can especially forgive it, but I think the first drop. So right, of the 3 drops, the first drop, I think that is, it's a travesty. To drop that, but 10% of the time that does get dropped. You see it, you do see it in cricket. The second one, I think that's quite a hard catch. The recovery catch, I'd say at best 25% of the time.
Yeah, on your way down. Yeah, snatching at it.
The third catch,
that's the worst of the lot.
Which was basically can you catch a ball dropped from 6 inches into your
hands? He's lying on his back and the ball is falling into his hands. He's patting it away.
So I think, of the 3 drops, bad drop
is the worst.
Very forgivable drop. One of the worst drops I've ever seen. Yeah, so it was pretty funny. Then England got to bowl, and they got to bowl to Ervir, who it was the guy that was going to retire and then decided no, he'd quite like to come to Lords and score some runs. And Dean Elgar didn't start that well for England. They got up to nearly 100, I think, South Africa.
85 the first innings partnership.
Before they got to the breakthrough. I tweeted and I got a very good reply. I said that Dean Elgar is like a cockroach crossed with the Terminator. Is how I describe his batting.
Yeah.
And then Chintan replied, "A cockinator." What do you think about that as a nickname
spot
for
on.
a Dean Elgar, the cockinator?
Cockinator. Well, you got the two options, aren't there? There's cockinator or termiroach. And termiroach is okay.
Termiroach. Tell you what, Termiroach would be a great Robot Wars robot.
Yes.
Cockinator is much more South African opening batter, I think.
Yeah, no, Cockinator is excellent. Well done.
So I think from now on, I will be calling him Dean the Cockinator Elgar.
Yeah.
On this podcast. He was eventually out in like extremely fortuitous fashion or unlucky fashion, depending on which way you want to look at it. Sort of elbowing the ball back onto his stumps. And then,
especially when the ball hit him on the thigh pad, sort of outside leg stump, wasn't it? And so he'd managed to elbow it from outside leg stump onto middle stump.
Yes.
So that was equally impressive. And then you consider the fact that the ball rolled onto the stumps, not particularly fast. It had a little bit of pace on it, but rolled onto the stumps, and both bails fell off. And we've seen balls hit half a stump and do nothing before. So an extra slice of misfortune.
Yeah. Then from there, England had their chance. Well, I guess their chance to fight back, and they did. They managed to take relatively regular wickets either side of T to have South Africa sort of in a spot of bother. Would you say? I'm just looking at the scorecard now. So the fall of the sixth wicket or the fifth wicket, 192. So they're only slightly ahead. Well, only slightly ahead when the sixth wicket goes down. Thanks mainly to Ben Stokes, who did bowl very well, didn't he, Max? Even though he appears now to only have half a leg. I'm not even sure he's got one leg. It's like, he's really being wheeled out there with his Zimmer frame.
Yeah, well, what's so if Dean Elgar's the cockinator with his Terminator cockroach cross, what's Ben Stokes with his wooden leg, sort of ginger beard, maybe
Long John
like that,
Silver,
Long
John,
Long John
Ginger.
Yeah.
It's better.
It's not as good as it.
Let's throw it out to Twitter. We'll see what they come up with.
They're better at this. But they've got more time on their hands. So Ben Stokes, I think he's the point of difference in this England attack, isn't he? You've got, Anderson, Broad and Potts. They're all bowling at a similar pace. They're all trying to do similar-ish things. I mean, Potts is probably more hitting the right areas rather than swinging it, whereas Anderson and Broad are more your swing bowlers. But even so, a bit one-paced and a little bit not predictable. But you can manage it. There's no, like I say, no point of difference really for you to have to worry about like you've got with that South African attack. Ben Stokes has sort of been trying to provide that, hasn't he? He's going. It was the short ball that did for Irvia, and that was
very good short
really
ball.
Well executed. That was about, if you said to someone, pin on the map where you want your short ball to hit from around the wicket, it was pretty much there. It was spot on.
Did you know, Max, that was England's second fastest ball of the day?
Really?
Can you guess what speed it was?
86 miles an hour.
In kilometres an hour, please.
That would be 147?
No, it was 138 kph.
What?
England aren't fast. That's really quite slow, isn't it?
That's really slow.
But anyway, carry on with the play, which is just for reference, 85.7 miles an hour. So there's not anyone.
Well, I got my conversions wrong. But
but it's still not.
It's not quick.
I think virtually all of the South African bowlers could bowl faster than that.
Yeah,
they don't all the time. I think
Norkir probably didn't bowl one slower than that.
I think there was, basically that. I think Janssen and Ngidi's average speed's about 83, I think. So they probably are bowling substantially quicker than that sometimes. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah, so that gave England something. It also showed England what they miss with the injured players. But it was important that Ben Stokes gave himself some overs as well. We've seen him be a bit reluctant to do that in the past as captain. So he at least identified that there was something that needed to be done there, and he mixed it up a bit as well, didn't he? He went for the short ploy for a bit. He got wickets pitching it up. So I mean, he did really well, and it was a really important spell from him, even if it was a little bit expensive. But wickets pretty much the order of the day.
Well, they're the order of the day anytime you bowl, aren't they?
Mm.
Except maybe, well, let's not get into that. So England did do the fight back, and then it kind of went wrong again, didn't it? Maharaj is, and we know this, is quite a dangerous batter.
Yeah, he's useful, definitely useful.
England, they didn't get him early. He basically took 10 balls, didn't play a single shot, and then was like, right, now I'm going to have loads of fun, and hit England about. And the score quite quickly got out of hand. So at 210, South Africa are 45 ahead with 4 wickets in the bag. Everyone can bat a little bit, but England are probably thinking lead under 100. We're well in the game here. We just need to then we do.
Yeah, they were probably targeting 250, weren't they?
Then we do Bazball, and then we win. That's probably what England were thinking. Instead,
South Africa did Bazball.
South Africa went at 10 and over for the last 6 or 7 overs of the day. They scored. I think they scored 60 runs of the last 36 balls of play, or until rather Maharaj was out. He got 41 off 49. Marco Jansen not out on 41 off 57, and the lead is now 124. It was really, really well batted, wasn't it, from those two? But could England have done anything to arrest the momentum of the South African players?
Well, I think they obviously could. I mean, they were sort of a bit attacking, but a bit not attacking. It was a bit of I didn't feel like England were doing one or the other. I said wickets are sort of the order of the day, but we were in that period where it was 10 overs, 15 overs to the new ball, and it had gone a bit soft, and it had sort of stopped being quite as dangerous as it had been throughout the day. And you do wonder whether maybe it was time to just kind of shut up shop a bit and try and keep things tight for a spell, rather than search for the wickets. And it was like England were bowling, searching for wickets, but not necessarily with the field to back it up. I don't know. I mean, it was I don't know. There were a few occasions where they didn't have any slips in, but then they had like one slip and a third man, and it was sort of I didn't feel like they were clear in what they were trying to achieve.
I think
I don't know what you thought on that.
A little bit of a little. I did get that impression. I think they fell into the trap again of bowling too short at lower order bats. And the theory, I mean, it worked. It did work, in fairness, against India, didn't it? Like, they took the last 7 Indian wickets for nothing, and then chased heroically, and it was the greatest thing that ever happened in history.
Yeah.
But that is sort of one of the few occasions it has worked in the last 18 months. I saw some numbers on this. Actually, and England have got better at bowling the short ball. So since 2018, basically 2018, 19, 20 and 21, they averaged over 36 with a short ball, never took more than 20 wickets. This year, 2022, they've got 27 wickets at 28. Now, that looks good.
With the short ball?
Yeah, that looks good, but I would probably argue that those wickets
shouldn't be going at 28.
Could have been bought more cheaply. So it's obviously it's a plan that is kind of working versus how badly it used to work, but is still
not the optimal choice.
Yeah. I mean, I think especially when you've seen a lot of people caught in the slips in the match. A lot of people caught behind. A lot of people bowled because the ball is kind of moving. I do. I mean, I appreciate the sort of once the ball's 40 overs old, it's a little bit harder to just say stick it on a length and wait for the loose drive. But I also feel like you're going to have more joy against Maharaj and Marco Jansen doing that than basically saying we're not going to bowl at the stumps, so get ready to swing as hard as you want. It gives them a pretty clear indication of what you want to do. I don't know if I loved it, but I don't know. Yeah, at the same time, Stokes, who's the sort of ringleader of that approach, is the only person who's got any wickets. But that actually leads us on to probably the big talking point. England have been significantly outbowled by South Africa here. Like South Africa's 4 pacers, all. If you were going to pick a composite 11 based on the performances in this match, there wouldn't be a single England bowler in your team. Like it would be the South African bowling team, and that's and maybe Ben Stokes comes in as your other option. Why do you think that was?
I just don't think they quite got it right in the first session. They brought it back a bit. I mean, Matt Potts to start with was literally all over the place. Like he was a broken bowling machine. Like there was a nut loose somewhere, and every time you put a ball in, it's fired off in a different direction.
Yeah,
that wasn't helpful. Jimmy Anderson started reasonably well, but I think was just in general, I think England were just bowling a little bit wide. They weren't really attacking the stumps. And you look at where South Africa got their wickets, a lot of them were bowled. I know a lot of those bowls were people playing on, but the reason you play on is when you're playing in that area outside off stump where you're not certain whether you should be leaving it or playing it, and the ball does a bit. And that's what happened a lot of the time. And I don't think England really did that. They made it too easy for Elgar and Hervé to leave the ball, and they did leave it well. In fairness,
yeah, it seemed to me like there were a lot of shots where there were a lot of shots played where it was basically a South African batter just slapping it through point or cover, like just like the kind of shot you see quite regularly in park cricket. Like the bowler's bowled too short and wide off stump, and now the batter can hit it as hard as they can in that area. And they didn't all go for 4 or anything, but it's like you're just not going to get out, especially if you're bowling 130 kph and you're not particularly tall, so you're not going to get. You're not even going to get like a lucky top edge or something like that. It's literally just a short, wide ball. Potts, they were talking about this a lot on the TV.
About left-handers.
Yeah, like he obviously has a problem against left-handers, and against this South Africa side, it's not necessarily the end of the world because they've only really got 2, haven't they? Until they get down to Rabada.
They open the batting.
Well, I mean that is irritating, but like often James Anderson will get one of them out, and so at least you open up an end for Potts.
I mean, there was an element of a bit of bad luck for England. I mean, obviously that kind of was completely cancelled out by Elgar's wicket, but up to that point, there were a few player misses. Anderson bowled a couple of balls that were ridiculous, like the sort of full swing ones that did too much to bowl them, or just didn't quite take the edge, or that kind of thing. I think he was comfortably the pick of England's bowlers to start with until Stokes came into the attack.
Yeah.
But yeah, they didn't do enough, did they? They didn't
I think
bowl enough of those wicket-taking deliveries.
I think it was sort of partly that. England bowled some very good balls, but they bowled a lot of dross. South Africa, a team that openly said we're not really going to play any attacking shots, in this match. I didn't say we're not going to play any attacking shots, but they were like, we're going in and we're going to be playing.
We're going to play Test cricket in the traditional way.
2.7 runs per over. They've scored 289 off 77 overs. There's nearly 4 and over.
4. Yeah, they did go at 4 in the first session before lunch as well.
It wasn't really, I don't think, because Dean Elgar came out in swashbuckling form. I think it really was bad bowling by England, and Broad and Potts in particular. I do think we're really reaching endgame with Broad as a automatic. Well, we should be past the endgame as an automatic first 11. I still think there's a role around the team. When Peter Siddle sort of slipped down the pecking order for Australia, it's that he should be playing some tests when the conditions are right, or he's got a good record at that ground. I think it was an error not to play Robinson instead of him here. Robinson is the ideal Lord's bowler.
I think you're right. He's not looking quite as threatening as he had been, has he? I mean, today you had South Africa with 2 left-handed opening batters, and that is literally what Stuart Broad is there to do, right? His expertise. His expertise is bowling around the wicket to left-handers and getting ball to leave them. And again, he just didn't quite didn't quite get it right today. And I don't know what the reasoning for that is. Did have England's bowlers come into it a bit cold, Anderson and Broad?
I don't know. I
Are you
don't.
going to go
I think
to
I've said
sort
this a
of
few
warm-ups and
times.
stuff, or
I think I've said this a few times. I think that if you prepare properly, you can probably do most of your work in nets. And if you played 150 Test matches,
should be able to just dust it off and
the
get
experience point is like I'm sure. I'm sure ideal preparation involves some sort of a warm-up match and bowling some live overs to a batter with fielders and stuff like that. And they didn't have that, but like again, 150 overs, 150 odd Test matches. You've got squads of people to help you prepare. You'll have had days warming up at Lords on the next pitch over, getting prepped for this. I don't think there's much of an excuse. I think that you're either good at bowling or you're not, and that wasn't good bowling. Is where I come down to that. I'm not a big buyer of warm ups and playing endless cricket to get in the zone. I think it might apply more for bowlers than batters to some extent, because you might not get the instant. If you're batting in the nets, you can get pretty good feedback on how things are going, just from feeling whether the ball's coming out the middle of the bat or like what your coach is telling you. With bowling, it might not be exactly the same. Yeah, you don't know exactly what's going on if you're just running in and bowling at a stump, do you? But
there's certainly something going on where you are.
yeah, there's some rozzers going by, so you'll leave that. Max, I think we've covered most of the points from today's match. Prajwell has asked us in the chat, who do we think will take on Nighthawk duties if Broad leaves the team? Who's your Nighthawk?
That's a good question. Probably be Ollie Robinson. I don't think anyone else could do it, could they?
Ollie
Jack
Robinson.
Leach.
Yeah,
Ollie Robinson supposedly can bat a bit, can't he? And I don't think he's someone who's going to hang around for long.
Yeah, Jofra Archer, if he ever got back in the Test team, he'd be a great Nighthawk.
Mark Wood and Jofra Archer, if they're fit, would be perfect for that role.
That's perfect Nighthawk.
Yeah,
performance.
You can imagine Mark Wood coming out dressed as a hawk as well for that job.
Yeah, or with a cape at least.
Knock
off Batman. Anything else? We should say Marco Jansen batted well. I've got that.
Yeah, well, it's his highest Test score. I was a little confused that he came into bat at number 6 ahead of Carl Verena, considering he averages 19.
I think there's a
high score
injury.
of 37 not out, but I assumed there must have been some sort of reason for that. But he batted really nicely. He looked very, very solid.
I thought Jansen.
I was impressed.
It reminded me a little bit of Ravi Jadeja in a sense. I don't think he's the same caliber, but Jadeja isn't a Test batter in the sense that a proper number 5 or plus is a Test batter.
Well, like Ben Stokes.
Yeah, someone who has someone who has shots all around the ground and can put away bad balls and stuff like that. What Jadeja does is make himself very, very difficult to get out until he's comfortable at the crease, and then he sort of plays the 2 shots that he likes after that. It's quite limited batting, but it can be quite effective in the right circumstances. And I thought Marco Jansen reminded me of that as well. Like a pretty solid defensive technique, and he's got a drive, hasn't he? And he can flick it off his pads. So he's got a couple of scoring shots if he needs to.
That's about all the shots you need in Test cricket, isn't it? One on the offside, one on
the
leg side.
But I don't think. I think he has to be. He can either be I'm going to play my 2 shots, or he can be I'm determined not to be out. It's not. It's very binary. It's not I'm going to play each ball on its merits from ball 1.
Clarity of mind.
Yeah.
Much easier place to be.
We had one question from Discord, which you can join if you want to be a Patreon. Patreon.com/thecricketpod from just £4 a month. Keep us in business. This one, I think it was from VJ, but I didn't write down the name, so sorry if it's from somebody else. Do you think the impact, or at least the confidence that we see in Leach's bowling, is only because Stokes believes in him more, or is there a hidden story, Max?
I think a lot of it is because Stokes believes in him more, and then there's two facets to that, aren't there? There's the confidence that comes with your captain believing in you and using you, and then there's the fact that he actually gets to bowl, which probably helps as well. Because we were getting into a stage where Jack Leach was following the side around, not doing anything, or being in the team and not being used. Joe Root bringing himself onto bowl ahead of Jack Leach, and I mean, as a frontline spinner, that's not going to do your confidence any good, is it? And then when you come onto bowl, you feel like you've got to prove yourself too much. You might you might be tight, you might, try too hard. Whereas if you've got that base level of confidence, you can go in, do your own thing, and I genuinely think that probably is about the size of it.
Do you know what? I don't think he's bowling any better or any worse.
No,
No, I think what we will see from Jack Leach in his career are, and I think what we have seen are situations where the conditions work out for him, and when the conditions work out for him, he will be a very effective operator because he's quite accurate, because he gets a little bit of dip, and because he does, when he wants to, actually turn the ball a reasonable amount. Like he
quite nicely today.
he can get something out of the surface. When it doesn't, or when he comes up against a batter that has his number, or he bowls to anyone left-handed, he's going to get whacked. I'm looking at the Jack Leach numbers now. The only marked improvement is that his economy rate is lower than it was in 2021.
I mean, that's very important.
His bowling average is actually higher. He's taken the same number of wickets as last year in more overs. It's. I
mean, he did play in India.
Yeah, he did play in India, but it's still. He also played in Australia, where he was rubbish. He also got whacked by Rishabh Pant in the last match. Just because he got him out in the second innings doesn't, disprove my theory here. I think Jack Leach is just going to bowl like Jack Leach and probably finish his career with an average somewhat similar to how it is now. Probably going to continue to be quite effective in innings 3 and 4. And, at best, I think we can hope for him being a bit tighter in innings 1 and 2.
Yeah, well, I think that's important in his role. I mean, we've seen him quite regularly sort of bowl dross.
Yeah, I'd also say
and things. I think we've seen less of that. I think there's been an improvement on that side of things.
Maybe. What I'd probably also say on Jack Leach is that I don't think he was ever really a bad bowler. I think since he's come into international cricket, he's probably been one of the average spinners across the 10 or 12 nations that play the game regularly. He's not elite level, is he? I mean, like, everyone can see that. No. But he's not.
He's serviceable.
He's not rolling his arm over and like bowling absolute pie, is he? He's probably out of the 10 teams 6th, 5th, depending on the on the day you see him. And that isn't bad. That's not England's biggest problem. They don't need to be like, we need a new spinner. They need other things. So I've got no problem with Jack Leach doing what he's sort of been doing and carrying on for the foreseeable. Especially if, as appears to be the case, his batting improves enough that he isn't just a straight up number 11. Anyway, Max, we're going to wrap up now. Thank you for joining us. If you're over on YouTube, remember to hit like and subscribe. We hit a little bit of a plateau. We did the road to 10k, and then we just stopped telling anyone to subscribe. And we've only had 700 followers, or some extra subscribers since then. So we need to set a new road to challenge. It could be road to 11k.
Let's start small. Let's go with 11. And
road to 11.
Take it from there.
Yeah, we want 11,000 subscribers. Then we've got 1,000 subscribers per player in a cricket team, which is cool. So help us out. Hit like, hit subscribe. And Max, to finish off the show, can you tell us about your testicles one more time?
Yeah, manscaped.com. Code CricketPod for 20% off, and you can get all sorts of good things. We've had the delightful joy of being able to try them out. The Lawnmower 4.0, the future of male grooming, an excellent trimmer to reduce the risk of cuts. and a whole load of other goodies that you can get alongside it in the performance package. So I highly recommend it. I think you should go and buy one and join us as well-scaped men.
Yes, Cricket Pod is the code you need. Manscaped.com is the website you need, and you get 20% off and free shipping. If you put the code in at the bit where you buy, you know how the internet works. See you later, everyone. Max, we didn't record.